Hey guys, and welcome back to the 411 on Tech. Today we have some tips and tricks, some setting optimization so you can get the most out of your PSVR2 experience, and we're going to get into it right after this. Okay, so first up, how do you get to the PSVR2 settings? So you go to settings, which is a little gear icon on the right, accessories, PlayStation VR2, or with the PSVR2 on, you hit the PlayStation button, and then you brings up the control center, and you get a quick settings card.
Settings card, yeah.
Yeah, and you can get the settings that way as well. So there's two ways you can get there.
Yeah, so the settings that we're going to talk about, they'll all generally be under that. If they're in another different, setting or whatever, we'll let you know. But just to kick it off, so the first thing is tracking support. So if you notice you're having some tracking issues at all with the headset, one thing you might want to turn on is tracking support. Now, in order to do that, again, you go into that accessories PlayStation VR2, and then you'll scroll down a little bit, and you'll see tracking support. Now, it says to turn on this setting if you experience tracking errors often, or if the VR screen moves around on its own. What will happen is it'll create a border. It'll put a border around the,
TV screen.
The TV screen, and that gives it something to lock onto if it has
another tracking point. Yeah.
Right. So. They were kind of mentioning if you have a room with all white walls, or if you're in a room with skylights or something that could interfere with tracking, doing this will help that. So even if you don't, experience any issues, you might want to just turn it on, just in case.
Yeah, it can only help your experience.
Yeah.
Okay, so next up is the ability to have 120 Hz HDR for cinematic mode. So this allows you to play your non-VR games on the PSVR2 on a large screen. Now you can adjust the size of that to be bigger or smaller. And what you want to do is, you go to cinematic mode, video output, make sure that 120 Hz and HDR are enabled. And you can change the screen size like I mentioned. And you can also lock the audio position, so the audio is like direction the headset is facing. So you might not want it to be like as it's moving around, like the audio is coming from different. You can just lock it to the direction that the headset is facing. So that'll be good. One thing we experienced was that 120 Hz was grayed out. So what we had to do was we had to go to settings on the PlayStation, screen and video output, 120 Hz output, and switch it from automatic to off. And then you can go back to the screen and video and turn 120 Hz output back to automatic. And then, it won't be grayed out. 120 Hz won't be grayed out for the PlayStation VR. It's just something that we noticed, but that's the workaround. Yeah.
Hopefully they changed that with a firmware update or something. I know when we first set it up, we didn't have that problem. What you might want to change is the controller vibration settings. So to have more immersion, obviously you likely want that strong, or you might find that setting to be too strong. You might want to change it. So you can either turn it off, you can have it strong, medium, or weak. So you have those 4 different settings there. And it affects both the regular DualSense controller and the VR Sense controllers as well. So in the past, if you maybe turned your vibration setting down for the DualSense controller, you might notice with your VR Sense controllers that you're not getting a lot of vibration. So you might want to go in and check that setting and make sure you have it up to strong.
Okay, next you might want to remap some of the buttons on, we'll talk about on the headset and on the Sense controllers themselves. So under the PSVR2 settings, you go to function button assignment, and you can remap what that function button does on the right side of the headset.
Yeah, underneath.
Underneath. You can either have it as pass-through mode so you can see your surroundings, or you can have it remap to mute your mic if you do a lot of play online, you're talking to others, you want to quickly mute yourself, so you can switch between those two. Mm-hmm. You can also remap the buttons on the Sense controllers. And to do that, it's in the PlayStation settings under accessibility, controllers, and custom button assignments for the PSVR2 Sense controllers. I know some people have a little issues with the Sense controllers, and if you maybe have larger hands, you want to remap some of the buttons that are more easily for you to reach based on the size of your hands. You can do that as well.
Yeah, some people just find the control a little bit hokey. I mean, we don't have any really issues with it.
If you want to change the default layout, you can change that. The X, Y, circle,
all
triangle
the
do
buttons,
all the buttons.
which is kind of nice
Yeah.
that you have that ability.
Yeah.
Now, I think you mentioned that, so that's under accessibility controllers, custom button assignments for the PSVR2 Sense controller. So that is under a different setting there. All right, last but certainly not least, because I know I have trouble with this, and I'm sure many of you do too, is motion sickness. So being able to change the motion sickness comfort level settings. Now, a lot of games will have this internally. So Horizon Call of the Mountain has it, and I mentioned in our in-depth review of the PSVR2 that it was really amazing how they implemented it. Like, it's one of the best implementations that I've seen. They kind of like, as you're moving, it does take away from the immersion. I will say that. But if you want to play VR, like, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of like almost
condenses.
Yeah, kind of like you're looking through a telescope, like a
periscope.
Yeah, a periscope or something like that. And there's a couple other things, but it does it really well. And I did not get sick in that game at all. So check your game settings first to see if there's any settings in there. You can also, in the PS5 settings, under accessibility again, display and sound, there's an option to reduce motion. So you might want to try that too. That might be able to help, and it just helps with not having as many motions on the screen and stuff like that, where it leads to motion sickness.
Yeah, it's been known to help some people. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely some good options to help with that. And then obviously there's other things that we won't get into, but Dramamine and taking breaks and stuff like that. But this is just for the settings that you can change for that.
Okay, so now we have a couple of bonus settings or changes you can make. The PSVR2 volume. It wasn't very intuitive, like how to control the volume that are coming out to the headsets for the PSVR2. But to do that, obviously with the headset powered on, you hit the PlayStation button on the controller, and it'll bring up the quick menu, and you go to sound, and then there'll be a slider to adjust the sound. So if you're not hearing enough sound coming through,
or if it's too loud,
that's where you can change that.
Yeah. So another feature is set time until the controller and the VR headset turn off. So say for example you're playing and you sit down your headset and your controllers and you just want to go grab lunch or go to the bathroom or whatever, right?
And you don't want to turn it off.
You don't want to turn it off, but
or you forget to turn it off.
The Sense controllers, I think they only have like 3 to 4 hours, so you don't want to be wasting, especially the controller battery power, right? So you might want to go in and change the settings on how soon that turns off. So if you go to Settings, System, and Power Saving, you'll see options to adjust both the time for the PSVR headset itself and the controllers. And you can choose from 10, 30, or 60 minutes before they shut off. So, we kind of have ours to 30. We feel like that's 10 sometimes, It might be
kind
of annoying, maybe.
10 minutes
but,
go quick.
I mean, if you're worried about battery life, you can definitely go to those settings and change that.
Okay, so next, you want to find those PSVR2 games in the PlayStation Store. So you go to the PlayStation Store, and you use the filter button, and then you can filter for VR, and then you'll see PSVR1 and PSVR2. Select PSVR2, and then you can sort them by best-selling, most downloaded, name, release date, or price, and then you'll see all the games for the PSVR2 if you want digital copies and don't want physical copies.
Yeah, but that is nice because like when you just go to the store, it's just like, how do I find them? Like you don't know how to find them, like specifically stuff that that's nice that you can just filter so you can see only what's available for the PSVR2.
And then the best selling thing is nice. You can see like what games that you might not know about are selling really well and like look into it and see if it might be a VR experience that'd be good for you.
Alright, so our last bonus setting or tip is side tone volume. So it's kind of like transparency mode, like if you have a headset that has transparency mode, it allows you to hear what's going on around you a little bit more, like sounds and stuff like that. If somebody's yelling at you, I know like if somebody's trying to get my attention and like I don't hear them and they come up and tap me, when you're in VR, like I would be freaked out. So it might be something that you want to turn on. So to do that, you go to Settings, Audio, you should see a side tone option, and you'll turn that off. Now, if it's grayed out, you do have to make sure that something is like physically plugged into
the headphone jack.
The headphones. Like we tried to do it with the Pulse on Bluetooth, and it did not work. Like that option was grayed out.
Yeah.
So in the research that we did, it kind of looks like you do have to have something directly connected.
Yeah, like a wired headset.
Yeah, so like the earbuds, obviously, that come with it, they're directly connected into it. And so when we did that, it did show up. So that's just something to...
And it also allows you to hear yourself talking in the headset.
Yeah, so you're not like screaming at somebody that's talking to you. You can hear your own voice.
Yeah, so that's going to do it for this one, guys. You know, we like bringing you guys this content, but please do remember to like, favorite, and subscribe so we can keep this going. And we're so thankful for you guys going along this journey with us. But until next time, bye!